Hey, are you his wife? He attacked me and got me pregnant. So I'm here to claim my inheritance. A shameless and bizarre woman barged into my husband's funeral. Her shocking confession drained me of all color. At that moment, I am Nick's mother, but I've been looking for you. What? Her face turned pale at my mother-in-law's words. What could this all mean? My name is Sherry. I'm a 32-year-old housewife working in a department store. I met my husband, Nick, in a university club. After a year of dating, we've been married for 10 years now. Though we occasionally argue over small things, we still care for each other and lead a happy married life, even in our 30s. Sherry, how about we go on a date next holiday? What? You know, it's been 10 years since we got married. Let's go buy something you want. Nick, thank you, but it's our anniversary. So it wouldn't be right for only me to receive a gift. Let's find something matching. Right, I was thinking about sweet 10 diamonds, but okay. Let's find something matching for both of us. I have a watch that I fell in love with at first sight. If you like it too, can we get that? Of course. We don't have children. We're okay with it since we didn't marry solely to have children, and we believe things are going well. We live close enough that miso soup doesn't get cold at my in-laws. My mother-in-law respects our way of thinking, so we have a good relationship. As my husband is a trading company employee, we go to movies or have lunch together when our holidays match, keeping our relationship strong. I was excited about buying the watch I fell in love with. However, the day before our day off, my husband came home late from work, looking pale. Are you okay? If you're feeling unwell, we can cancel tomorrow's shopping. I'm fine. Our wedding anniversary is next month, right? If we miss tomorrow, it looks like we won't have another chance. He weakly smiled at me while pressing his temples, perhaps due to a headache. Do you want some headache medicine? Is work that busy? Work is tough, but that's always the case, but... What? But what? Sorry. It's nothing serious. I'll take some medicine and go to bed first. Oh, and I'll stop by my parents' house next Monday. My mom said she needs me for something. I see. Take care of yourself. After receiving the medicine from me, my husband took a bottle of water from the fridge and went to the bedroom. He never told me the reason until the end. Even during the next day's shopping, my husband seemed distracted, quickly putting back watches he picked from the shelves. When I showed him the watch I had fallen in love with, his reaction was lukewarm. Hey, maybe we should go back today. If you don't like it, I can't buy it. It's okay, let's decide on that one. His emotionless response made me shake my head. And we ended up going back home without buying anything. The strange behavior of my husband, Nick, continued. I thought it might be due to physical exhaustion from lack of sleep. But it seemed more like he was mentally distressed. He sighed repeatedly, and when I asked him what was wrong, he would just shake his head and say, I'm fine. It's nothing. Nick had always shared everything with me, both the trivial and the significant. Seeing him unfocused and yawning constantly, I realized he was deeply troubled. Why don't you take a day off work and go to the doctor? I'm sorry for worrying you. I'm okay. Although I felt lonely being unable to help, I tried to alleviate my worries by making his favorite dish for dinner. However, Nick's troubles seemed unending. His complexion worsened day by day, and he would sometimes groan in his sleep. I tormented myself with thoughts of whether he was hiding something from me, or believed it pointless to share. I, too, was suffering, unable to do anything for him. Then, one day, a call came to my workplace. A colleague informed me it was from the hospital, and a bad feeling washed over me as I took the phone. The news shocked me to the point of dizziness. Colleagues arranged a taxi for me, and, supported by them, I headed to the hospital. During the ride, I steeled my resolve and contacted both my in-laws and my own parents, telling them Nick had been hospitalized. However, upon seeing Nick in the hospital room, I nearly collapsed. He appeared to be sleeping, but his complexion was lifelessly pale. The doctor had already informed me that despite their best efforts, it was too late. Nick had suffered a stroke. Faced with this reality, supported by a colleague, I cried as if on fire. I was grateful for the chance to cry my heart out at the hospital, knowing the busy and challenging times that lay ahead. With so much to arrange between the hospital and the funeral, I had no time to grieve. Despite their own profound grief at losing their son, my father-in-law tried to comfort and assist me, while my mother-in-law, utterly devastated, could hardly leave her bed for 2 days. It seemed only natural. My mother-in-law loved her only son deeply, and Nick cherished her just as much. I managed to comfort my grieving mother-in-law and proceed with the preparations, thanks to my father-in-law's strength. Then came the funeral. Many people attended, mourning the too soon departure of my husband, and sharing memories of him with tears. I learned from younger colleagues how much Nick was admired, and from his superiors, how much he was cherished. Many friends from our student days were there, and I felt proud knowing Nick was loved by everyone. Our mutual friends embraced me gently. The funeral, conducted with solemn respect, was about to conclude when suddenly, I made it in time. A woman's shrill voice reached my ears. What? Startled, I reacted as if I had just managed to catch a train at the last second. Hearing such a triumphant yell, her exclamation was out of place at a funeral, especially coming from someone who appeared to be in her 20s. She glanced at the family seating area, quickly realizing I was the widow, and blurted out, "Hey, are you his wife? I have something to say." "Yes, what is it?" How rude to address a recently bereaved wife so informally at a funeral. In dramas, such a scenario would typically involve a mistress, but the likelihood of that happening to me was 0%. I trusted Nick never to be involved with another woman in such a way. Annoyed by the woman's disrespectful manner, I responded formally. "What was your relationship with the deceased?" "Huh? You're asking that?" No. That's a normal question, right? Even if she's young and doesn't know how to greet properly, her behavior seems odd to anyone. Can I say it here? What? Seemingly aware of the situation, she looked around before speaking. "Your husband, he attacked me." "What?" I doubted my ears for a moment, and my vision blurred at the unexpected accusation. To accuse my husband of attacking her. "Hey, are you listening?" As I stood dumbfounded, she waved her hand in my field of vision to catch my attention. "That's impossible." I snapped back to reality and retorted sharply. "How can you be so sure? Like, not my husband, right?" "Of course." I glared at her, my voice raised in anger. "Oh, scary. But I'm the one who was attacked, you know. What proof do you have? Do you have any evidence?" "I'm pregnant. He attacked me and got me pregnant, so I'm here to claim my inheritance." "What?" Not only I was shocked, but my parents sitting next to me were also stunned. Candace's shocking confession made me feel as if all the blood was draining from my body. This must be a nightmare. I must be dreaming. Trying to convince myself, my mouth dried up, and I started hyperventilating. My hands on my knees began to tremble, and I broke out in a cold sweat. What does this mean? My mother confronted her on my behalf, as I was unable to speak. "So, my name is Candace, right?" "Right after I joined the company." Senior Nick confessed his love to me. She continued, her prominent lips forming a point. And, you know, I had a boyfriend, and I knew Senior Nick was married. So of course, I said no, right? Her ambiguous way of speaking was causing a sense of discomfort. Was it her way of talking that felt so off? Her lips, heavily coated with bright red lipstick, seemed almost grotesque. He must have held a grudge for being rejected. "Accept my love," he said, when we were alone, and then, well. She had been speaking triumphantly until her voice suddenly turned to tears. Then, she cried as if she were the tragic heroine of a story. Or rather, like a kindergartner, her sobs easily understood. As a widow, physically and mentally exhausted. I wondered on what basis this woman in front of me was making such claims. If what she was saying was true, how should I respond? No, that couldn't be. Knowing my husband's character, if he had loved someone else, he would have honestly told me. I remembered my husband, always whispering words of love, his smiling face. The photo of my husband's smile dispelled the unfathomable anxiety within me, and gave me the courage to confront the crying woman before me. "You said your name was Candace, right? Leaving aside whether or not what you're saying is true, you're being incredibly disrespectful." His calm, deep voice admonished her, echoing through the funeral hall. My father, usually a gentle man, can be quite intimidating when angry. "What? Who are you?" Her crying stopped abruptly. "I'm her father, which makes me Nick's father-in-law." "Are you related?" "You don't look alike at all." "Really, that's what you're focusing on? Isn't it odd to bring that up now? Could she be one of those quirky girls who just say whatever pops into their head?" My father was taken aback by her abrupt comment and just gave a wry smile. "Sherry takes after her mother and is beautiful." He straightforwardly answered her question. "I take after my dad and am beautiful too. Plus, I love my dad. This is a souvenir from when he was working abroad, cute, isn't it?" She pulled out a necklace from under her funeral dress to show us, featuring a Moai statue pendant. Regardless of whether the Moai necklace was cute, wearing such an unusual accessory to a funeral convinced me she was indeed quirky. These kinds of people are tough to deal with. You have a unique sense of style. "Candace, I understand what you want to say. I'll acknowledge it for now. Can we discuss this in detail after the funeral? The accusation of being attacked by my husband is not a light matter. Normally, it's not something one would want overheard by others." I suggested this, considering her dignity more than my own. But then, Candace's expression changed again. "Don't think you can run away from this." "What?" I was speechless. Her attitude had completely changed. As if she was another person, and now she was getting angry at me. It was foolish of me to think I could handle this graciously. "Candace, you've got some nerve. Let's clear this up right here. If you're lying, it's better to confess now for your own good." "I'm not lying. Just promise to let my unborn child inherit, and I'll leave right away." Despite my father's imposing presence, she boldly continued her claim for the inheritance. "I'm Nick's father. Who's making all this noise about inheritance?" Whether her voice was too irritating or it just rubbed him the wrong way, my father-in-law rebuked her loudly. "Huh? Oh, so it's you? Should I direct my inheritance claim to you instead?" Unfazed by my father-in-law's booming voice, she muttered to herself. Her ability to remain calm in such a situation was baffling. "So you're Senior Nick's dad. You and the other man have similar hairlines. Hilarious, right?" Despite her bizarre comments, my father-in-law, used to such remarks, stared her down intensely without flinching. "Tell me the exact date and time when my son supposedly attacked you." "That's so elementary school. So funny. Like I could remember that. You don't remember? Then we'll ignore what you're saying. What? I have proof right here. You'll need to provide evidence that it's Nick's child then. Well, as the mother, I know. Oh, sorry, you wouldn't understand since you've never been pregnant. That's irrelevant right now. I was at my limit being reminded of our childlessness and was frustrated by her erratic conversation. Oh, I just had a great idea. How about not filing a complaint? You kick out this barren woman and marry me instead? That would make the inheritance process smoother, right? This woman was relentless. My father-in-law glared at her, his fists trembling with anger. It's a good idea, right? After all, it would be your deceased son's child. You could see your grandchild. She smirked creepily, glanced at me dismissively, and pressed her proposal to my father-in-law. Only if that child is truly his. But I highly doubt Nick would do such a thing. Should we get a DNA test? I confidently suggested this as my final trump card to her. Impossible. He's gone, you know. Too bad. The deceased have no say. I suspected her timing to arrive at the funeral home was no coincidence. Tears of frustration and grief overflowed. I was infuriated by her disrespectful and outrageous behavior towards my deceased husband. You wicked woman. You will not make my precious daughter-in-law, no, my daughter cry. I absolutely won't allow it. My father-in-law, in a fury, seemed to intimidate her as she took a step back. And now, it's my turn. Then, from behind my father-in-law, my mother-in-law appeared. The real disappointment is on your side, isn't it? What? I'm Nick's mother, but I've been looking for you. Candace stepped back again, puzzled by my mother-in-law's imposing presence. What was going on? Did my mother-in-law know her? Confused, I could only alternate my gaze between my mother-in-law and Candace. My mother-in-law, despite having been bedridden until yesterday, spoke with strength. I knew you were here. I thought you might be hiding somewhere. But thankfully, you revealed yourself. Candace, what you're saying is nonsense, isn't it? I've heard everything from Nick. You were the one who had feelings for him and chased after him, right? No. Nick was the one who said he liked me. Lies. You knew he wouldn't reciprocate your feelings. So you planned to frame him, didn't you? Where's your proof? My mother-in-law faced her challenge by showing her smartphone screen and playing an audio clip. Nick's voice flowed from the phone. I listened intently, shocked yet eager to understand. Candace, I appreciate your feelings, but I have a wife whom I love. I can make you happier than she can. Their conversation was played out. Candace's expression stiffened and paled. If you continue to involve yourself with me, I'll have to report this. You're young, Candace, let go. You hate me that much? Then I have my plan. I'll claim you attacked me. Help, someone help me. I felt sick and covered my ears. This is the evidence. You were too aggressive, so we recorded it just in case. Ugh. Still going to deny it? Nick sent me this audio recording. Damn it. But, if there's indeed a child of Nick's in your belly, we'll have to proceed with inheritance. Grandparents and the child's DNA can be tested, you know. There's no child. It was all a misunderstanding by me. So, I'll be leaving now. Realizing she was at a disadvantage, Candace turned to leave, waving her hand dismissively at us. After all the turmoil she caused, letting her leave just like that was out of the question. I wanted to say something to her for ruining such a final farewell to my husband. I took a deep breath, ready to yell, but just then, someone grabbed the fluttering hand of Candace. You think you can just leave like that? Apologize to this family. Get down on your knees and apologize to the wife." His voice, filled with anger, echoed through the funeral home like thunder. Manager. The gentleman who grabbed her wrist was my husband's superior from his company. I heard the sad news while on a business trip and returned immediately. I apologize for offering my condolences so late. He bowed deeply to me, all the while keeping a firm grip on her wrist. "Welcome back, manager. You were in Singapore for your trip, right? What did you bring back as a souvenir?" Her out-of-place comment at such a moment made me realize the true horror of dealing with an eccentric person. "I have nothing for you. Rather than that, you should sincerely apologize." "No way, I did nothing wrong. It's Nick who's at fault for not accepting my love." "What?" I'm speechless with dismay. He sighed deeply, then bowed politely to us, explaining his relationship with Candace. "Actually, Candace is my niece, my brother's daughter. Her tendency to jump to conclusions has caused problems at her previous job as well, leading to her dismissal. We took her in when she had nowhere else to go. But it seems we indulged her too much. I'm ashamed she has caused trouble for our employees as well." He said this while repeatedly pushing down on Candace's head. "Ouch, ouch, let go." Her desperate struggle was somewhat comical. My parents and in-laws seemed somewhat relieved to see her in such a state. "Candace, you will no longer have a place at our company from tomorrow. This should bring peace to the workplace." He lectured Candace as he led her out of the funeral home. What followed was this. Manager, in other words, the brother, informed Candace's father about everything, who, furious about the incident, decided to kick her out of the house. Whether she could find a workplace that would accept someone so self-centered, who can't read the room and often makes inappropriate remarks, is questionable. Her unique sense of self and tendency to suddenly lash out made her a difficult case of an eccentric person to deal with. Unless she decides to change her ways, she's likely to end up isolated. My husband must have been at a loss on how to deal with her. Being kind-hearted, he probably exhausted himself trying not to hurt her. I spend my days grateful to him for trying to keep me from worrying. Then, one day, a package arrived. I couldn't stop crying when I opened it. It was a present from my husband. Today was our wedding anniversary. It's been half a year since my husband passed away. I'm currently enjoying a trip with my mother-in-law, just the two of us. Sherry, thank you for bringing me to a place filled with memories of Nick. I think Nick would be happy, too." I looked down at my wrist. "We couldn't wear them as a pair, but I'll cherish this watch, I promise." "Hey, Nick. The view here is so beautiful. I really wish you could be here with us." I murmured to myself, looking up at the sky. I wonder if my mother-in-law thinks I'm an eccentric person too. Right now, that's okay with me, because the time I spend thinking about my husband is filled with happiness.